If you clicked on this video, then you want to know more about pre-orders and why authors do them and how do authors do them. So we're going to talk about all of it. I'm going to share from my perspective what I see as the pros and the cons of doing a pre-order and why I think personally that they're really, really valuable. And then I'm going to share how I also personally do my pre-orders. Although of course, there's always other ways to do things. So this video really is my perspective, and you might have a different perspective, which is totally okay because every author is different. And I'm going to try to give you a really balanced view and understand the why behind my decisions in case your why might be different. But let's get into it because I'm very excited. There's obviously a lot of factors in a pre-order, but I think that it boils down to two things. Either authors want to focus on making more money and they do a longer pre-order, or there are authors who want to try to make a bestsellers list, in which case they might avoid a pre-order or do a very short pre-order. So I promise I will break this down as much as I can. We're gonna get into it. What do I mean when I say that a shorter pre-order or skipping them can help you make a bestsellers list? Well, I have not made a bestsellers list, although that would be the coolest thing ever. But essentially, those lists, like the New York Times bestseller, the USA Today bestseller, they come out, I think it's on Sunday and Monday, I forget which one's which. And so those lists are tracking all of your pre-orders on the day of release, except Amazon, because Amazon, for whatever reason, at least right now, from my understanding, is calculating pre-orders as they come in. And so, for example, let's just use a really simple number like 100. If you have 100 pre-orders on Barnes & Noble, they're gonna count all 100 sales on release day. If you have 100 pre-order sales on Amazon that trickle in, one sale per day, then you're gonna get like one sale on release day for that particular day. All the other ones will have been counted in the past. They'll be past sales. They won't fit within the week, that time frame that the bestseller lists are looking at for how many sales. So bestseller lists are looking for the bestsellers, aka the most books sold. And therefore, if you have a longer pre-order, you could sell more books. You could actually sell as many as a bestsellers list might require, but Amazon is going to count them throughout the pre-order time frame, not through that 1 week for the release. Does that make sense? I feel like I didn't explain that super well, so I would suggest looking into it if you want to know more about bestsellers lists. I'm going to actually link Courtney's channel below from the Courtney Project, because she has a video all about this where she really breaks it down, and she has made the USA Today bestsellers list, so she is an authority. I am not. That is an option. However, I don't think it's a very good option for a brand new indie author, or even an author with 4, 5, or 6 books. I feel like you have to be really established before you consider even trying to make a list, because you have to sell thousands of books to make a bestsellers list. And even in traditional publishing, not every book is going to sell thousands. That's a pretty steep number. It's not to say it's not possible, because it is, and it's gonna happen. I'm excited for it. I mean, there's a reason, you guys, there is a reason that I create merch that says stuff like this, because I would love to make a bestsellers list, but I still want to be reasonable and logical. I also want to have a long-lasting career, and honestly, there's so many more things that are important than making a list. A list is just an exciting dream, versus actually having an awesome career requires making money. So that's why I lean the other way towards having a pre-order and having a longer pre-order, because it will help you in the long run to have more sales. It's really simple. The more you talk about your book, the more people might consider buying, and the longer pre-order is, the more chances you have to talk about your book. So I have personally done pre-orders for a couple months. I even tried not doing a pre-order once with my friend Mandy when we co-released a book together. But these days I'm trying longer pre-orders, and when I say longer, I mean longer for indie, like 6 months, but you could even do up to a year on, I think, all platforms now. KDP used to only allow you to do 3-month pre-orders for their ebook. but they now have extended that to a year to match all the other vendors. So you could potentially do even longer if you wanted to through Ingram Spark or something like that, but your pre-order can be as long or as short as you want it to be. And that's where we need to talk about some of the other pros and cons besides those two biggest ones, because one of the biggest cons to a pre-order is that it can really be stressful for authors if their book is not done. I have experienced this, and yes, if you absolutely had to, you could push your pre-order out, but if you do that on Amazon, you risk losing your pre-order privileges for an entire year. So it does have consequences. And not only that, but even on the other vendors where they let you do that, you're still disappointing readers, letting them down. It's something that if it absolutely had to happen, you have that option, but it's not something to take lightly. And so I would encourage you, if you're somebody who works well on a deadline, to consider pre-order. But if deadlines stress you out and you find that you often don't make them and you feel like you might let your readers down, then you could do a launch page where you gather up all of your readers' information and you email them when the book comes out. Or even just use your newsletter and encourage people, say, hey, sign up for my newsletter if you want to know about new releases. I've got something in the works and I will email you when it releases. So that is an option. You could also encourage people to follow your Amazon page, because I believe Amazon emails everybody who follows an author on the release day of a book. And you could encourage them to follow you on BookBub, because they do the same thing. And I think also Goodreads, if I remember right. So you have some other options out there if you really don't want to do a pre-order, or you could do a shorter one where, say you finish the book and you give yourself just a 1-month pre-order and you know it's done, you're good to go, but you still want to take advantage of some of the benefits of a pre-order, which is honestly that you're just able to talk about your book more, build up the hype more, and make more sales. So I personally think pre-orders are so valuable, but I also think that every author needs to find their sweet spot where it feels good for them and it's not too stressful. So for me personally, what I have found is the best thing is to figure out roughly when I would completely finish my book, worked with an editor, worked with beta readers, did all my self edits, did my proofread, and it's fully done. And then I like to tack on 2 more months as a buffer period, because things go wrong. And that buffer period helps me remove stress while still committing to a date, telling readers this book is coming out. I'm gonna do this. I promise you it will arrive. And I have never missed a pre-order yet, although there were some times before I implemented that buffer period where it got really stressful. So that's what I personally recommend, but you gotta do what works for you, and you might have to experiment a little bit. But then my second tip would actually be to utilize a pre-order when you put out a book by putting a pre-order to the next book in the back. This requires some advanced planning. So like, for example, when I put out The Stolen Kingdom, that was on pre-order, and then when it published, I had put out a pre-order to the next book, The Jenny Key. And when that published, I had in the back a pre-order to The Cursed Hunter. And in the back of The Cursed Hunter, when that published, I had a pre-order to The Enchanted Crown. And when The Enchanted Crown comes out, I don't actually have my next book written. So I'm going to put a call to action in the back to sign up for my newsletter to get access to a short story for Gideon instead. So little things like this, whenever you're able to take advantage of a pre-order, I always recommend to take advantage of it, because like I said, our goal is to make a sustainable career, and to do that we have to sell books, and to do that it helps to be able to sell them for a longer period of time. So that's why I personally like to open up a pre-order time frame that's much longer than it used to be. Honestly, I used to try to do the rapid release, and I have a video on that if you want to watch it, which nothing wrong with that, but I have also found that there's nothing wrong with having a longer pre-order window either, and that those can be very beneficial to authors. So it really depends on what you want out of it. Do you want to have something that's stress-free and you put your book out when you're ready to? Maybe then you will utilize a launch page or your newsletter, or even just a shorter pre-order window, like a week, 2 weeks, or a month, or 2 months. Or do you want to have a longer pre-order where you can start talking about it way before it's released and be able to share a link every single time. Like maybe the moment you have a cover reveal, you're able to pair that with a link to go pre-order, and you can already start talking about it way before the book is out and say, guess what? You can buy it if you want to, and you can kind of build the hype that way. Now, like I said at the beginning of this video, I kind of hinted that I have experimented. So I've done all kinds of things, and Mandy and I, for our Marketing for Authors series, we actually tried not doing a pre-order, and we tried doing the launch page that I told you guys about, where we gathered emails instead and we emailed people on release day. And Mandy and I actually realized after we did that experiment with book 1 in the marketing series, How Your Book Sells Itself, we ended up going back to pre-orders for book 2 and book 3, and we will for future books as well, hint hint, because we decided that looking at the variables for us, having a longer pre-order was really valuable. It allowed us to sell more books going forward, and we were capable of sticking to that deadline. And we actually, both of us, really enjoy having a deadline. It kind of keeps us going, or at least it keeps me going, because otherwise I could just stretch a book out forever. So that's how to do pre-orders, but then let's talk about where you can do pre-orders, because it is actually different. So if you want to publish wide, meaning outside of Amazon, to places like Barnes & Noble and Kobo and Apple Books and what else? Indigo, you can use companies like Draft to Digital for ebooks, which I have a video on that linked below if you want to watch, or I believe Smashwords does that as well. And then you could use Ingram Spark for your paperback and hardcover needs. I would not recommend ebook personally. I have a video on that as well that I will link below if you want to watch. But those companies allow at least a year for pre-order, if not more. They allow you to basically set whatever date that you want. But when it comes to KDP, which is a company owned by Amazon, if you don't know, and I have a video on that as well that I will link below for how to upload to that, there are a few restrictions. One of them though was removed. Like I said, it used to be you could only do a 3-month pre-order window, but now they've extended it to allow you to do as far as a year out. And then the other restriction, which is unfortunate, and I hope that they change this as well, is that they only offer pre-orders for ebooks and not for paperbacks. And so who knows what might happen in the future. I hope to be able to do an update very soon and say it's changed. You can now do paperbacks, because that would change a lot of things for me. But right now, what I personally do is I use Ingram Spark for my paperback and hardcover pre-orders, and then I use KDP for ebook pre-orders on Amazon, and Draft to Digital for my pre-orders wide on those other companies like Barnes & Noble and Apple Books and so on. And then I really love this, that Draft to Digital offers you a universal book link. So you can create a universal book link specifically for that book and link all of your ebooks, including Amazon. And then technically, even though the landing page when you first use this link says it's for ebooks, when you actually click onto the website, like for Amazon, and you go see the book, you can obviously see not just the ebook, but also the paperback and the hardcover and the audiobook and whatever else you might have. I think that's it, actually. Yeah, you get the idea. This universal book link is amazing. So that's why I personally do pre-orders and where I do them. And then the next video coming up, I'm going to talk about how to do a pre-order campaign to specifically market your books during a pre-order, because that was one of the questions that I got over on Instagram, and I'm really excited to answer it. So we'll be talking more about that in the next video, which I will link below for you to watch once it's live. Wait, before you go, look at this. Look at this. You are the cutest. I'm talking about you. Yes, I love you so much. Yes, did I wake you up? Say hi to everybody. Say hi. Bye, guys. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Thanks, guys, for hanging out. I will talk to you again very soon. Bye.